I greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I want to personally appreciate your time. You've taken that time out of your very compelling schedule to be part of this broadcast today. And I do not take it lightly in any form, shape, or size. So in the last few weeks, we've been talking about life without chains. This is a series I've been teaching simply based not just on my own experience, but what the Lord had advised me to do more than 2 years ago. But there were certain interventions that prevented my very self from reaching you with these teachings. So I have often said to you that there is really no life without chains. The chained life is a reality. But what is more real for the sons of God is that they are not left unequipped. They are not left on their own. They are daily equipped with the tools to contend, to confront, and even conquer these chains. The psalmist will always tell you that he loads us daily with his benefits. So God loads you daily with his benefits. And so whatever you are loaded by divinely includes the skills that you need to confront daily chains, seasonal chains, continental chains, provincial chains, territorial chains, community chains, whatever however the chain may look like, you are daily equipped to confront and then defeat those chains. So no one should tell you that there is a gospel out there that grants you immunity from the chained life. No message like that. There is no message that grants you immunity from the chained life. The message that I know and I have that I'm sharing with you now is the message of equipping, is the message of empowerment. It is the message of endowment. It is the message of skills building, so that when you are confronted with chains, you are well more than able to defeat them. So I want to bring to you one of those tools that you need to have in your toolbox to defeat chains. It is called capacity for responsibility. Capacity for responsibility. I want to talk to you about capacity for responsibility in breaking chains. Capacity for responsibility in breaking chains. Now, in this case, what is your responsibility? We know that no one escapes the chained life. No one escapes the chained life. And so because no one is exempt from the chained life, it becomes your responsibility. Now you get me. It becomes your responsibility to dissect the kind of chain that is accosting you, the kind of chain that is projected at you, and then develop the appropriate skill set to defeat such chains. That is what we call capacity. So capacity is expanded ability. I repeat that. Capacity is expanded ability. So when you have that ability, we say you are capable, and therefore you are endowed to confront that challenge and then address that which you are responsible for. Now, I want to talk about two kinds of capacities here. You've got the natural capacity, and then of course you've got the supernatural capacity. The natural capacity that is imputed into us as human beings, as mankind, for us to address contest to which we are a part of. So that is natural capacity. And then you have the supernatural capacity, where certain interventions are just beyond the human expression, where the measurement of such outcomes or expressions cannot be determined by the human intervention. So that is what we call the supernatural capacity. So both capacities, they are available to man. I'll give you an example. Jesus severally operated supernaturally, even though he was a human being, even though he walked historically the face of the earth. The healings, the resurrection experiences that so many people had in the moments where Jesus intervened, in those moments where Jesus intervened, you and I can then attribute such to supernatural intervention, where the force beyond the natural intervenes to strengthen a situation, to bring direction to a situation. We also saw the breaking apart of the Red Sea just simply by the holding of the rod or by the pointing of the rod towards the Red Sea. Bible records that Red Sea was broken into two in order for the people or the children of Israel to pass through the dry ground. These are supernatural interventions. I give you an example also that when Peter stepped in Acts chapter 3 to bring life to the crippled legs of that man who sat at the beautiful gate, you tell me exactly that was supernatural intervention. Now, what was happening in those situations? They had these guys who came in to address those difficulties had capacity to address what they were responsible for. Moses was responsible for taking Israel directly to the promised land. Yes, of course, there were certain challenges on the way. Moses did not possess the capacity to address anger. Moses was responsible for addressing his anger, but the capacity to address that anger, which was an aspect of his changed life, he was unable to address that. And we know the consequence of that problem. Bible records that Moses was unable to proceed to lead Israel into the promised land simply because he disobeyed certain divine instructions. So you, as you are watching this program right now, you are responsible for breaking. I repeat this. I need you to get it round and get it in. You are, not somebody else. You are responsible for dissecting. In other words, for having the knowledge about the chains that are currently confronting you. You are responsible. It is your responsibility. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking to you now about, the capacity for responsibility. You've got to be able to generate the wherewithal. You've got to be able to generate the empowerment. You've got to be able to generate the grace, if you like, for such responsibility. However the chains are moving around, there's one person who is responsible for confronting and defeating those chains. It is you. So what I'm talking to you now is the capacity for responsibility. How do you build capacity for responsibility? How do you develop capacity for responsibility? We know, for example, that David saw himself as one responsible for the defeat or for the slaying of the Goliath that changed Israel. Yes, David understood that he had the responsibility for unchaining Israel from the demonic influence of a Goliath that was attempting to suffocate Israel out of existence. And Bible says to us that David was able to invoke an occurrence or an intervention in his own conduct when he confronted the lion and the bear and defeated those aggressive or aggressors, if you like. So you have to have this capacity for responsibility. David built his capacity, and once the responsibility came, David was able to deploy his capacity to address or defeat that awkwardness that came. Now, let's look at the case of Peter, for example. Peter, we know that in Matthew chapter 14, had an encounter. Bible records. This is so important because you think that, these things are just the way they are. They are not the way they are. When capacity has not been built, it becomes difficult to attain a certain level of accomplishment. So accomplishments or setting standards or setting reach or attainment, they don't come accidentally. Oh no, we are not in the gambling business. They are methodologically worked out. There are methods, there are approaches that bring about such accomplishment or attainment. So we see that Peter had an encounter. Bible says that he saw Jesus walking on that water, and then Peter took the steps to walk on that water as well. But you know what? Bible also records that Peter began to sink. Why? Because Peter did not have the capacity for such responsibility. You see, Peter had not been able to develop capacity to be deaf to the winds, to be deaf to the contrariness, to be deaf to the speakings of men, to be deaf to contradictions, to be blind to things that were capable of restraining and containing him. Peter was not built for that. So Bible says he began to sink. Why? Because the capacity for such responsibility had not been developed. So family of God, you need to develop the capacity for responsibility if you have to break these chains. Life without chains life without chains is real. But I need to also tell you that no one can escape the life without chains. The chained life is a reality, but more real, however, is the divine capability that can be imputed into you for defeating such chains. We see in the life of Gideon, how Gideon by capacity, I repeat that, by capacity in Judges chapter 8 verse 10, was able to defeat the enemies that chained Israel for generations. We saw how 300 men defeated 135,000 men. Do that mathematics by yourself, and you understand how just 300 men brought down those 135,000. It was capacity. They had the capacity for responsibility. Now, how do you develop capacity to break the chains? Firstly, you need to undergo training. You need to be trained. We're talking about the chained life. You need to be trained. I don't know how you conduct your training. I don't know how you go about being trained. But I want to say to you now that as part, this is, just listening and watching this broadcast is part of the training. And then you need to understand what personal development is. I'm not talking about the crowd development. I'm talking about your personal development. So personal development is key to building capacity so that you can be equipped to deal with responsibilities. And then you need to be teachable. Yes, you need to be teachable. When you don't have the teachable aura or spirit, then it becomes difficult to develop capacity. Then you need to be adaptable. Yes, seasons come where certain things that you've learned, they are no longer required to move ahead. The tools that you used to have, they are no longer required. They are no longer available. They are no longer useful in breaking current chains. So you need to be adaptable. Then the last one that I want to talk to you about is agility. You need to be agile. In other words, you need to be versatile. When you are not versatile, you cannot break chains that are versatile. You cannot break chains that have multiple lives. You cannot break chains that have multiple influences. No, when you are versatile, when you are agile, then you are equipped to deal with hydra-headed chains. So I want to encourage you, family of God, that this is an assignment that you need to look into. Capacity for responsibility is a way and is the way to go. So thank you so much for joining me this day. I appreciate your time. My name is Onu Abada. And I'd like to encourage you to subscribe, like, and of course, share this broadcast so that those who are known to you can be delivered from the chained life. God bless you. Bye-bye.